Yes. All right. We're live. Let's do this.
Coaches. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, they can't hold a flame against you, ay. Blow the whistle, blow the whistle, ay. Blow the whistle, got the game, it ain't no issue, yeah. Blowing the whistle, I had enough with you, the championship, it is gone. Ain't listen to you, I can't give it to you, cause you don't know what I've been on. This is the Coaches Podcast.
Oh, there we go. I didn't come back in that quickly. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Steve. We don't have the normal crew today. Most of my crew is out on the road, either going on Christmas leave or have a real job that they have to attend to. But no worries, guys. I found a fantastic guest, a friend of the show, Jorge Martin. My friend, how are you doing today?
Muy bien, muy bien. Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody. Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Hopefully everybody is celebrating with loved ones, friends, loved ones. I feel like I'm going coast to coast today, so with another friend. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's been a while since we've talked, like we just talked about before the show. So it's great to have you on. How's your fantasy season going? We haven't talked much. I know we're in that one league together, but how's that going?
That league, I got drummed out. I just, super flex leagues, unless you had, Josh Allen and, you had Justin Fields last year, you're not doing well. I mean, I wrote it with Aaron Rodgers and Jared Goff. So doing okay. But you know what? Otherwise, things are going well. I'm in 15 leagues. I think I'm in the playoffs in the finals in 7 of them.
Nice.
And in the semifinals. And also I'm number 52 in the Scott Fish Bowl.
52.
So
Let's go. I'm
very
impressed.
proud.
I'm impressed. Yes.
I got a shot at number, top 30 for the top 30. And actually, I'm going to have a question when we get to quarterbacks that I'm going to want your input on.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Yeah, I'm still in the Scott Fish Bowl too. I'm like 234 or something like that. So my team really needs, and I lost Jalen Hurts. So we'll see how. I do have Gardner Minshew. I did get Gardner Minshew. So we will see how that goes this week. So, but yeah, fantasy season's going well, guys. We have some start and sits to talk about with you today. We're gonna go over every single position like we always do. But before we get to that, let's get into some of our. If I can find my mouse here. Some news first. All right, guys. So, we still have some not starting sits, but injury news to talk about. But these are players that are already confirmed out or likely going to be out. And that list includes Chase Claypool, Lamar Jackson, Ryan Tannehill, Nico Collins, Mecole Hardman, Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, and Jalen Hurts at this point, which would give Gardner Minshew the start in Week 16 against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I don't know if you might have been mentioning Minshew later or not, but how do you feel about this team in general with Gardner Minshew? Are you fading the Eagles' offense a little bit now that Minshew's a starter, or you're still riding high with this high-power offense?
I think I'm still going to ride high. In fact, that's a part of my quandary because I've got you being in Jersey. I don't know how close you are to the Meadowlands, but I've got to make the decision on my QB2 between Gardner Minshew and Trevor Lawrence. Ooh. And I'm kind of like, I'm really, really worried about Lawrence in the rain and against that Jet D. So I may be leaning toward Minshew mania, and you know what, he's good, and I mean he's one of the better backup quarterbacks, and he's got all those weapons and a great line. I think he's not going to do anything close to what with the rushing with Jalen Hurts, but I think he could be close on the passing side. Maybe look at 300 yards and a couple of TDs, because I think that game's going to shoot on, in that nice weather, that nice indoor stadium in Dallas. There's some good possibilities for a good game for Minshew.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, those who are listening, it shouldn't come too far off in terms of the production, because what Jalen Hurts was able to do is do a lot of his fantasy production on his own, then instead of using the passing offense as much. And Gardner Minshew is not going to create yards on his feet as often as Jalen Hurts would. So Jalen Hurts and I think Gardner Minshew in terms of passing, I don't think they're terribly far apart. Jalen Hurts is obviously a much improved passer, but I don't think Gardner Minshew was somebody who was, you looked at him passing, it's like, what is he doing? Who could throw the ball? And we saw that at times in Jacksonville when he was there. And again, maybe he can't make all three of these guys, him, and I mean three of these guys, I mean A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Scott are all top of their respective positions, but he's going to come pretty close. And I think, Jorge, I think you saying 300 yards and 2 touchdowns potentially, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, it's risky because we just don't know what Minshew has to offer. So you really got to be in a bad position to want to start Minshew. I mean, you have to be starting looking at guys who you lost Jalen Hurts and you don't have a second quarterback to start in Superflex. Or if you're in a 1 QB league and it's just really that bad out there, you go after Minshew and hope for the best at that point. It's indoors. Hopefully that they're going to want to keep up with this Dallas team to try to keep ahead of them in the division. So it's a risky play, but he has a good potential to finish as a top 12 quarterback this week. So
yeah, plus
honestly,
Dallas has gotten beaten up the last couple of weeks on, in the passing game. Trevor Lawrence just ate him up. And then the previous week, I think it was Chris Moore went for over 100 yards receiving. And, Chris Moore is not in the same sentence as A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. So
definitely not.
I like the possibilities for a Minshew game. Plus, he's I think another one, not to belabor this so much, but he was also a pallbearer and I believe a speaker at the Mike Leach funeral. So
wow.
Sometimes guys get a little something, a little extra mojo when like I still remember that. I mean, I still remember that game that Brett Favre had, I think a day or two after his dad passed away on Monday Night Football. He threw for almost 400 yards. And just so sometimes guys find a little something and maybe Minshew does that.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And also Trayvon Diggs, for the cornerback for the Cowboys, is dealing with an illness. So he could miss the game too, which would be a major blow to that Dallas secondary. So to wait and see. He's risky, but he has the upside to actually play well. So we'll see. Nick Foles replacing Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan got benched once again. Does this scare you off of basically any Colts players, or does it give you an upgrade? I don't know how bad Matt Ryan was pretty bad, but I don't know if it's Nick Foles can be better or not. I mean, are you avoiding them if you can?
I'm avoiding everybody but Michael Pittman.
Okay.
It's Michael Pittman is going to get peppered with targets. He's their one guy that I would still go after. That's in the passing game. Zach Moss, I'm definitely thinking keeping him top of mind as a flex play, because Moss against that Charger run defense, he had 24 carries last week. I think if he gets 20 carries, I think he could have himself a game. Right,
and they might need to run the ball more because of Nick Foles as that quarterback now. We'll talk more about the passing unit in a little bit, as we'll get to that during the start and sit show. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to change things. It could be for the better. It could be for the worse. I mean, it can't be any worse than what Matt Ryan was given. So it could end up being potentially a bit better, but we'll see. And then last but not least, Ryan Tannehill is obviously out. So Malik Willis, the rookie quarterback, is getting another start against Houston. Now, we've seen him so far in a few games. It's not been good. Not good. This is a Derrick Henry game for sure, but due to the situation of his ability to run the ball and against maybe a potentially bad rushing team, does he give you any appeal in Superflex leagues as a QB2 this week, or would you just, again, still avoid him as much as possible?
Oh man, if you're giving me the question between Foles and Willis, I'm going to take Willis because of the rushing upside. But I'm really trying to fade Willis as much as possible. I don't see him. I really see him even like in the beginning stages, like where Jalen Hurts was a year ago at the beginning of the season. But I mean, Willis has a long way to go to be a competent passer in the NFL. I think it's there. I think the arm's there, but for this week, I'd really have to be looking at who my QB2 is in Superflex before I start him, especially in the fantasy semifinals.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely going to be hard to trust that unless we knew there was guaranteed rushing production, but we just don't. So especially with Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry, we all know, loves to beat up on Houston. So I can't see Willis doing much more than something that Desmond Ridder did last week, where he threw 17 times for 100 yards. like, and then maybe rushed for 40 yards. I mean, that's all I can see for Willis this week. So probably would avoid.
So I got a question for you. I know you mentioned avoiding him at all costs. In DFS on DraftKings, he's 4,900. Would you be tempted to play him naked and try and spend up elsewhere?
I think it would depend on who I'm able to get to spend up. I mean, there is some attraction there for sure. Absolutely. The rushing ability. I mean, that's really low. And it will depend on who you're able to get, I think, are surrounding him. Because if he does blow up for like 20 fantasy points, you're set. You have to have a great week then at that point. But again, it's a low risk. It's a low risk. I mean, if you spend 4,900, hopefully you do better at the rest of your position. So it could be low risk, high reward.
It's tempting. I mean, because I look at Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry, both over, like 85, 8,600, and that could be fun. That could be fun to put that kind of lineup out there to see, how many studs I could get out on one roster with a really cheap quarterback.
That would be awesome. I mean, you got to do it now because that price will eventually jump as the weekend goes on. So do it now, guys.
Yep.
But that's most of the rest of the news. Again, nothing else really too crazy out there. I mean, Kenneth Walker's playing now, which is great. Nick Chubb is playing. Just keep your eyes on the injury reports. Thursday Night Football tonight. Probably try to avoid Thursday night players if I can. This is not sounding like a game I want to really take a lot of my fantasy semifinals to the championship with for me personally. So just keep that in mind. But we will get to the starts and sit show now. So let's get rid of this and let's get back into some starts and sit. And we'll start with the quarterbacks. All right, now give me your quarterback sleeper this week.
Let me see. Yeah, I'm getting a little feedback. Are you okay?
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
I'm just getting a little feedback on.
Hold on.
Okay. Let's see. I can hear you just fine now. As far as,
can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah,
Hold on. Yeah, I hear it too. I wasn't sure that was me or not. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear. I'm just getting some feedback on it.
That's weird. Where?
So we're looking at while we're trying to figure out the technical difficulties. I'm looking at Geno Smith. I love Geno Smith as a start this week. That Kansas City is going to throw the ball. They're going to throw the ball well, and I think Geno's going to have to throw to keep up with Patrick Mahomes in this one. Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Just fine.
Issues? All good.
Just fine.
Perfect. All right. Apologize about the technical difficulties, guys. We are back now. Let's get into our start and sit show, guys. We're going to start with the quarterback sleepers. As you guys know, I always like to do these little PowerPoints. These are the favorable matchups for quarterbacks. But Jorge, my friend, give us your quarterback sleeper you like in Week 16 for semifinals.
I love Daniel Jones this week. Oh my goodness, do I love Daniel Jones this week as far as a sleeper? The Minnesota Vikings they're throwing up. I just wrote it down on they're giving up over 315 passing yards per game since week 10. They're just getting lit up by every quarterback. And the last time that Daniel Jones faced a porous pass defense, but also an offense that was going to put up some points, was against Detroit. And he put up 341 yards. And I mean, he was in the, he was top 5. I think it was top 5 QB that week. I look at him. It's going to be nice in that dome. So he's going to have plenty of time to throw, and he's going to have to throw because Kirk Cousins is going to do whatever he wants on the other side of the ball. Him, Justin Jefferson, and Dalvin Cook. The Giants haven't been able to stop anybody of late. So I think I think Jones is going to have to put up a lot of points just to keep up.
Yeah, no, I love that one. That is a great sleeper this week. Daniel Jones he's been doing pretty solid for most of the season, especially as of late. He hasn't been terrible, which is a great thing actually to have. I mean, besides this past week against Washington, he was, putting up almost 20 fantasy points in like 3 of the last 5 games. So he was playing pretty well enough, and in a matchup where Minnesota just doesn't really do much on defense, this could be a great play for Daniel Jones this week. For my own self, for quarterback this week, I'm going with Aaron Rodgers. And I know Aaron Rodgers is more of a household name. Everyone loves Aaron Rodgers. People think of him as a fantasy star, but he really hasn't been a fantasy star. He's been under 16 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So it kind of qualifies him for more of a sleeper because I don't think he's a must-start guy, but he has the potential to do really well in this game. Miami has, the last 3 games have allowed a quarterback to score 19-plus fantasy points. Rodgers' wide receivers are finally all healthy now. He has a groove slightly going with these guys, especially these young wide receivers. And Miami just continues to give up fantasy points to quarterbacks and allows plenty of passing yards. So in a matchup like this, where it's likely going to be a good weather game, Aaron Rodgers, I think, could get over that 20 mark for you in your semifinal matchup. If you're looking, maybe you're tied in between 2 players, you're just not sure who you really want to go after. I think Aaron Rodgers gives you that safe 19 to 20 point game, and then you just figure out the rest. So I like Aaron Rodgers this week as my quarterback sleeper.
I love that pick. Love that pick because I think that game has sneaky shootout potential. I think it's an over under around 48 points, and they're I think he's gonna have to throw to keep up because I think your fins up the Dolphins are gonna put up some points against the Packers this week.
Oh, I hope so. We need a win desperately. So
Yes.
we
I'd
definitely
love to see that.
do.
I want to see the teal in the playoffs this year.
That's what we're open for. It's been a long time, so I'd love to get us back there, but we got 3 weeks to go. So let's get over to the quarterback bust of the week. Jorge, my friend, who do you have as a quarterback you're really trying to avoid this week in your semifinal matchups?
Oh man, you're giving me some great choices on this one. You know what? Let's see. Well, let's see. We got Tannehill just got ruled out.
He did, yes.
Yeah. You know what?
This was done prior to the update.
I'm looking at Mac Jones. I mean, I want to sit all of them. I'm really looking hard at Mac Jones as being a sit candidate. Cincinnati's defense has just been playing really well on against the pass and against the run, and the Patriots they just look a little discombobulated on offense. Jones has not taken the step forward this year. I think even in a home game, I think it's gonna be tough. I think they're gonna for the Patriots to have any kind of chance to win this game. I think it's gonna have to be with the running game with Ramondre Stevenson. I don't think Jones is gonna be able to put. He only threw it for a little more than 100 yards last week, so I don't know if they just don't trust him.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no interest in being anywhere near Mac Jones this week. He just has not. And honestly, I don't know if he's going to be the future of this team. I'm slightly concerned they're going to go a different direction because he just hasn't put up that production for you really want in fantasy. And starting him anywhere close to your semifinal matchup would be a terrible mistake, even in a 2 QB league. Honestly, I think I'd almost rather start a skill player with some upside than play Mac Jones this week. So
I hear you on that.
There.
Totally hear you on that.
Yeah. For my quarterback bust this week, guys, I went with Dak Prescott. Philly hasn't allowed a quarterback to throw over 250 yards yet this season. And in just 5 games this year, a quarterback has thrown more than just 1 passing touchdown. So they're really good against quarterbacks. And Dak, he's just been kind of inconsistent. And, it's just there's too often he has one of those 14-point games. Just really he throws up 200 yards and maybe 1 touchdown. And the run game is what really drives this offense here. And to be honest, it's just the way this game is going to go. I don't think the Cowboys are just going to run up the score on the Eagles. The Eagles defense is legit. They're really good. And it's going to come down to when they get to the goal line, they're not going to throw the ball. They're going to run the ball with either Tony Pollard or Zeke. And Dak Prescott just isn't going to get too often to throw. He's averaging about 30 attempts a game, which I don't think is too much, to be honest, to the average quarterback nowadays. So I know because he's a household name, he's probably your only quarterback you may have in your roster, depending on what kind of league you play in. But I honestly would look a different direction. And I would look somewhere else. I'd look for Daniel Jones off waivers and maybe start him because I don't think Dak is going to put up a 25, 30-point fantasy day for you. I don't know if he's even going to get to 20 this week. So for me, he's a sit for me this week.
I'm with you. That defense from the Eagles, that secondary is, if it's not the best in the NFL, it's not long before they get called in roll call. So that's a fantastic pass defense, and I think Dak's gonna have a tough time. Yeah, you're right. They're gonna have to get home if they're gonna keep the Eagles from clinching on their home turf. It's gonna be with Pollard and Elliott.
Right, exactly, and that's the way I see it. So, but you had a fantasy question, didn't you, Jorge?
Well, it actually it comes down to my sit, and the guys are right next to each other, Gardner Minshew and Trevor Lawrence.
Oof.
You know, and can you give me a weather report in Jersey?
I mean, right now
I,
it's not raining. It's very windy. It's not raining right now at the moment. But New Jersey New Jersey seems like such a small state compared to where you're from. But honestly, it's like half the state it will rain and snow, and the other half it will just do nothing. So I believe in North Jersey, which where the stadium is, it is still raining up there. The winds are pretty high even around here. This Jets defense is really good in the
yeah,
secondary. I don't think the
there's
Cowboys defense is that good in the secondary, and I think people overestimated what Trevor Lawrence did last week because they really boom or bust that secondary, and it just I think I'd rather go Gardner Minshew and take that chance and start Trevor Lawrence on Thursday Night Football. I
yeah,
mean,
I
just
think. And I'm gonna make that change, and I'm not feeling good. You know, one thing that kind of solidified it for me. I mean, I love what Trevor Lawrence has been doing. He put up like 30 some points for me last week. I mean, I pushed up against 200 points. It was just fantastic week. I look at him, but I looked at week 4 against the Eagles, and it rained in Philly that day, and he had 4 fumbles. So I'm worried that ball security could become an issue. And Sauce Gardner and his and company, they are legit. They are legit a great
they are.
defense. So I just think the defense, the wind and the rain. I think the wind even more because I've heard from I've heard listening to several guys who play quarterback at the Meadowlands. That wind is just like they'll see it on a given day and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to pass today, and this could be one of those days. So I'm not even playing this game in DFS tonight. I want no part of it. I think it's gonna be low scoring.
Absolutely. And again, Thursday night, it's really hard to want to start a Thursday night player because it just ruins your whole week. If Trevor Lawrence put up 11 points, you're going to be so mad at yourself for the rest of the week in general. So, I mean, if he puts up a big game, That's not something I'm seeing coming. But I mean, if he puts up a low scoring game, it's a not that great situation, you're going to hate yourself. So,
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough.
can't always dance with the one who brung you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get over to some tight end sleepers now. Or hey, my friend, give us a tight end sleeper you like this week.
Tight end sleeper. I'm looking at. Let me see. Let me find them. Can I say Travis Kelce? No, I'm kidding.
You can't say Travis.
You can't say Travis Kelce.
Definitely can't say Travis Kelce. You can say anyone else. They might not even be on this list here. This is just a favorable matchup list.
No, you know what? I mean, he had a rough game last week, but I'm going to the well one more time with Pat Freiermuth. I think the Raiders have been getting beat through the air on this season, and Freiermuth, he's not going to go another game without a target. He's been very good this season, and I think I'm looking at him as a sleeper this week. Somebody that people might say, he's not good enough to get anything, but you're planning for the week ahead. And I think on top of it, that stadium in Pittsburgh is just going to be a different kind of alive. Paying respects to Franco Harris, R.I.P. To one of the all-time greats, the Hall of Famer. I think the Steelers themselves are going to be very, very keyed up and want to honor that great. And Pat Freiermuth is good. And the interesting thing that they have an interesting connection that I just read about yesterday. When Franco was the one who announced the pick of Pat Freiermuth.
Oh, wow.
And Freiermuth is also from Penn State. So again, going back to the Minshew thing. Is Freiermuth going to have a little extra mojo going this week to want to honor him? So that's why he's going to be my sleeper this week.
Yeah, no, I like that sleep. I do like a good bounce back from him this week. I think he can do that for sure. So I love that one. My tight end sleeper this week, and he's someone I think you could pick up off waivers and plug in this week. And it's a little risky, but I know it is. But it's tight end position. Anything can happen, and it's Trey McBride. And you have to be kind of lost, I guess, at the tight end position. You haven't really had a chance to grab the Evan Ingrams or the Chigs of the world here, honestly. And you're looking for a tight end, so you're struggling. You're playing matchups. Maybe you have Greg Dulcich, and he hasn't been working out for the last few weeks here. the Bucks allowed the 6th most fantasy points to tight ends this season in a per game basis. Now I know it's Tracy McSquirrely as the starting quarterback, which definitely doesn't sound great to play, but honestly, a third of McSquirrely's yards last week were to Trey McBride last week in the game that he played in half the game. And on back-to-back first drives that McSquirrely had, the first throw, it was to Trey McBride. And Trey McBride had 2 nice big catches, one for 18 and one for 24 yards at one point in this game here. I mean, a tight end is usually a young quarterback or inexperienced quarterback's best friend. Maybe he can get things going this week here while he's not going to force the ball to DeAndre Hopkins because he might not be able to get it to him, or Hollywood Brown. Trey McBride is going to be over the middle of the field at short distance, and that might be what something happens this week. So in a matchup where they're likely going to be behind, they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more at times. I think he ends up having a surprising week 16 play. So I mean, Trey McBride is my sleeper at tight end this week.
Love that call. Love that call. I know it sounds a little bit cliche, but who's a young quarterback's best friend? The tight end. So he's gonna get rushed, and he's gonna check down to Trey McBride and get some yardage this week. I love that call. Great sleeper.
Absolutely. 100% love it. All right, over to the tight end bust now. Jorge, my friend, who do you have as someone you're avoiding this week?
Oh my goodness. I think one guy I'm avoiding, and I don't want. Well, gosh, there's so many options on this one. I think I'm going to go David Njoku and I love his, how far he's come in his game. But I checked in with a media member in Cleveland yesterday asking, okay, how bad is the weather going to be? And he said it's going to be frigid, and it's going to be really, really windy. He said it's going to be tough for the passing game, and that especially for the kicking game. So I'm fading any pass catchers in that game. So David Njoku, much as I like his game, I think I'm sitting him out this week.
That was my guy, but I love it.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. As I let you go first, you're the guest. I love it though. That was a great call overall. I do like that one. Who am I gonna go with now then? All right. I'm gonna go with Dalton Schultz. I put Cowboys tight ends up there, but I'm gonna go with Dalton Schultz. Eagles are usually pretty good overall against tight ends this coming season here. But the one thing I just don't like about Dalton Schultz, even though I do like him as a player, is just that they're not throwing him the ball consistently like they were last year. He's not seeing the 6 to 8 targets he is supposed to be seeing each and every single week for being an elite tight end, because I think he is an elite tight end. But he's kind of like, 1 week he has 10, next week he's got 4, 5, 6, 4. Like, it's just very inconsistent, and he's not seeing the red zone looks as much. I mean, after a while you get, Jake Ferguson or Jake Pennyshot or whatever his name is. They're getting the touchdowns. Like, they're just not throwing to him the ball as much, and his play has just really been real inconsistent. And I think I'd want to avoid that this week if I can. If you're looking for a tight end, it's going to be hard. And either of our tight ends, I think it's hard to want to sit them because the tight end position is so minimal as it is. But just really, honestly, just take that extra concern that they might both not do really good this week, and you might have to make up with that in other positions on your team. So just keep that in mind for these tight ends here this week.
Yeah, I mean, I think a case could be made for almost any one of these guys to sit them out, but you're right. If you're, you could sit these guys out, but then who do you start? Because there's really not. It's
right.
It's such a danger zone when it comes to the tight end position. That's why I'm going to be all my leagues. I'm going to try and make all the tight end positions an extra flex. So fingers crossed.
That's not a bad way to do it. I like it. Don't hate that. I might do that in some of my leagues next year. We'll see, but. The tight end position is a rough one. So that's why we're heading to RBs now, guys. So let's talk about some RB sleepers now, Jorge, my friend. Give us your first RB sleeper of the week, someone you're looking to bring up and start.
Sleeper of the week. Well, you know what? Running backs, it's such a position right now. Well, I talked about Zach Moss earlier, so I think he's an option to go from there. But I don't know. I know he's been the RB1 the back-to-back weeks. Can Jerick McKinnon still be a sleeper?
I think he's a must start now. You had to throw him in your lineup and just say you're going for it. You have to assume he's going to put up another big game.
You really do. I mean, I grabbed him at the end of a dynasty league, not the one that we're in, but in the final four on that one, and he's in my lineup for good. So and that was with losing Damian Pierce already in the playoffs. So I'm happy with that one. I love McKinnon. He's getting kind of like that Austin Eckler role, and where he's going to make so much of 12 to 15 touches total. So I love McKinnon the way they're using him right now, and it's very similar to the way they used him in the playoffs last year. Fantastic.
100%. I love it. Give me one more. Give me someone else who might not be as hot as McKinnon, though, because I do like McKinnon. I think people need to know that you got to put in your starting lineup no matter what this week. So,
well, one of the things, DeAndre Swift, it's been a rough season for him, but one of the things, and last week he had a good game, and I think 2 of the last 3 weeks he was not on the injury report, and both games he went off, and this week he has not been on the injury report. And Carolina, they're much better against the pass than they are against the run. And so I think Swift could, if he gets 10 to 12 touches, and I believe he got 9 targets last week. So if you could tell me he's going to get another 9 targets this week, I would sign him up. I think he's pretty cheap. I think he's like 5,500 in DraftKings.
Oh wow!
That feels because last night I was fiddling around making up some lineups, and I thought, oh wow, I got to put a lineup with him. So I'm looking at him. He's a guy I want to get in a lineup this week. Sorry, excuse me.
No, you're good. I like that. 2 really good sleepers for sure. I think people both need to decide if they should be in your starting lineups, either as a flex or an RB, and I think they deserve to be in those positions for sure this week. Some guys that I like that I would like to flex at least this week. Jared McKinnon's partner, Isaiah Pacheco. He turned out a pretty solid outing. He had 90 yards rushing. He didn't really have much work in the passing game, and he fumbled. That wasn't great, but he put up 90 yards, and that's pretty good. And Seattle allows the second most fantasy points to RBs on a per game basis this season. They've allowed 14 rushing touchdowns on the season here, and I expect that they're going to take advantage of that. They're at home in Kansas City here. They're going to continue to give this young kid a rock, and I think he could end up, if he gets in the end zone on 60 yards, that's 12, 15 fantasy points almost right there, depending how he ends up with yardage. And I think that's a real possibility this week. So I think if you're looking for some spark in your flex spot or your RB2 spot, I think Isaiah Pacheco can give you that kind of spark you need for your semifinal matchup.
Love that pick. Love that pick. That's fantastic. Yeah, hopefully he gets in the end zone, because it always looks a lot better when a guy gets like 97 yards and he gets that touchdown to get that 15.7, because he's not going to get anything in the passing game. That's all going to McKinnon.
Absolutely. So another one I have, Rachaad White, and I think it's time to get back on Rachaad White train. He's been kind of decreasing over the last few weeks in terms of his fantasy points, but he has had double-digit carries in 4 of the last 5 games now. And I think in this matchup against the Cardinals is going to give him that boost back up that you want to put him in your fantasy lineups. Carolina allows the 10th most fantasy points per game to running backs. They've allowed 12 rushing touchdowns on the season here at this point, and he's holding that early downs work and kind of splitting that passing work with Leonard Fournette. And I think as long as he's getting that early down work here in a game, which I think they're going to be ahead in because who the Cardinals quarterback is, I think they're going to run the ball in the second half, and White's going to get a lot of those carries late in the game, and he's going to get some passing work as well too. So I think he puts up a solid, again, just like Isaiah Pacheco, 12 to 15 fantasy points this week. He provides you a nice flex play for you in fantasy, and ends up helping you get to the next round of your championship.
And do you fall to the the local boy comes home narrative?
I do love that. I do love a good local boy that comes home. I didn't realize that, but I do love that.
Arizona State,
Arizona State, just down
the road from State Farm Stadium where the Cardinals play. So I'm sure he's gonna
got some friends, got some coaches, maybe some teachers that are gonna want to come and see this man play. So he should be ready to go.
I love that. That just kind of came to me right now because I was like, oh, I love that narrative.
Great thinking. I love it. All right, my friend. All right. Let's head over to the RB bust now of the week. Give us your RB bust of the week.
Oh, and I've ridden him so far, but he didn't take me to the semifinals on one of the teams. Is Brian Robinson. It's the San Francisco defense. I mean, I think they're number one against the running back, and I think they're hardly giving up anything on the ground. It's in San Francisco. It's there's just not going to be a lot of running room for him this weekend. And the 49ers, I know they've already clinched the NFC West, but I think they're trying to get playoff seeding. Maybe they can't catch the Eagles, but I think they want to catch the Vikings for, to maybe at least, host a second playoff game. And Ryan Robinson, great story all season, great story, but I think it's going to fall short this week.
Yeah, more than likely. I'm not really actively trying to put Brian Robinson in any of my lineups. I mean, he's a good running back. It's just that they're not doing him right now, and Antonio Gibson's stealing work, and they're just not running the ball efficiently enough. The line is just not that good. So, yeah, I'm glad to stay away from a guy like Brian Robinson this week. Someone that I'm trying to stay with is the Carolina Panthers RBs, both of them, Chuba Hubbard and Deontay Foreman. I don't want to deal with any one of them this week here. I mean, they've been splitting work. Detroit hasn't allowed just one 60-yard rusher since week 9. They don't allow a lot in the passing game to running backs in terms of receptions, and they allow the 9th fewest fantasy points per game to RBs. Just isn't something I'm trying to actively start in any of my lineups this week. I just feel like they're going to give you 6 to 7 fantasy points, and that's really about it there. They're not going to put up big fantasy numbers, and you should probably actively avoid them if you can and look elsewhere, especially some of the sleepers we might have mentioned, or maybe I might want to start Zach Moss over these guys because I just don't trust the production they're going to give you this week in fantasy.
I see. Oh, we're getting a little feedback again. I'm totally with you on the Carolina running backs, because it's just man, those guys. Deontay Foreman really let me down last week in one of my leagues, and I just look at him as a really touchdown dependent guy. So I'm staying away from those guys very much. But man, it's so hard to sit any running backs, isn't it?
It is. There's a lot of running backs with good matchups. You got to almost have to start. You still hearing it?
That's it.
You still hear my feedback? I don't know. Maybe hold on. I have to do something. Sorry about the feedback today, guys. Can you hear it? I don't know. Testing 1 2 3. Testing fantasy 1 2 3.
Let's see. Still getting a little feedback. Let's see. Let me step out for a second.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. We're gonna keep going here in a second, but apologize. I don't know what's going on with my mic today. I think I have everything plugged in right, but we'll go over to the next thing here. You guys want to know about wide receivers, I'm sure, those listening in the chat. We have a lot of wide receivers here and a lot of favorable matchups for wide receivers this week. Until Jorge comes back, I will give my first wide receiver sleeper of the week here. Oh, he's back already. Let's see. He's trying to connect. And there he is.
Hello.
Is it better?
All right. I think we're fine. Fine again.
Perfect. Well, I hear it on your end too. So I'll go on mute and I'm gonna let you talk about your sleeper wide receivers.
The one that I want to, let's see. I'm really looking at the weather this week so much on some of these guys. A big sleeper that I have this week, and I talked about his quarterback, Daniel Jones, earlier. Darius Slayton is a deep sleeper. I think I like him as a potential, flex play this week. He has been the guy that's been getting, between 7 to 9 targets every week, especially when and the game where he went off, he being Daniel Jones went off. Darius Slayton went over 100 yards in that game. So I really like the possibility that Darius Slayton's going to have himself a game this week.
Yeah, no, I love Darius Slayton a lot this week, and I also like all the Giants. I love all the Giants wide receivers. I don't know how we're going to fix it, but I'm going to mute you for now till I'm done, and we'll go back and forth. But I do like all the Giants wide receivers, especially Darius Slayton. Like you said, Isaiah Hodgins, I like him. I like a lot of that potential matchup against the Vikings this week. So I think that is a great play to go after in terms of a sleeper. What's up, Kyle?
No, I think I love that. I love that play. With all those guys, I mean, and I'm looking around and it's like I'm seeing so much weather in here. I really wanted Garrett Wilson tonight, but I'm worried that Zach Wilson isn't going to be able to get the ball to him this week. Drake, I think Drake London, I'm emergency starting him in one league. I know Desmond Ritter did not look good last week, but he did throw, I believe it was 9 targets at Drake London last week, and that was that to me that was like, okay, let's see what happens there.
Yeah, no, I like Drake London as well. I think his 7 targets for 70 yards was very confirming that if Ritter's going to throw the ball to someone, he's going to throw it to his rookie wide receiver as well. Here, they have a connection. I'm sure they've been practicing a ton in camp overall the entire summer. So they have to have some kind of sort of connection. So him coming in and him going right after him right away, it's a great sign because only threw for like 100 yards and 77 then went to Drake London. So I do like that one a lot. So I'll give my 2 sleepers now, and I'll let you comment on them because for some reason my mic is just messing up. But so my first wide receiver sleeper, I went with Marquise Goodwin. Goodwin is likely to see an increased role now with Tyler Lockett now out for at least a week or two now. He was pretty good playing second fiddle this entire offseason. And the Chiefs love to give up touchdowns to wide receivers. They give 19 touchdowns to wide receivers this season. And each time Chris Goodwin actually caught a touchdown this year, he had at least 10 plus fantasy points in 3 games so far that he's actually done that. And I think in this game where Seattle is likely to be somewhat behind in the game, you should expect them to have to throw the ball a little bit more, and he should end up having a pretty good outing overall. And my second wide receiver sleeper is DJ Shark. Shark had a nice 3-game streak where he was, increasing his fantasy production each and every single week until he versed the Jets. Jets kind of fell behind. But the Panthers do give up the 12th most fantasy points to wide receivers this season. And this offense just loves to attack the ball in the air, especially recently. They've been loving to throw the ball downfield. Jameson Williams and DJ Shark kind of going downfield as more of a stretch plays. I expect him to be more of that boomer bust flex option for you this week, but he had 18 targets over that last 3-game span. And I expect them to kind of get back on track to where they're not looking like the Jets that they played, but more looking like the other 3 games that they were involved in. So I think DJ Shark could be put back into fantasy lineups this coming week.
Oh, I think DJ Chark is a great call. Just an absolutely great call because Jared Goff does like to take those shots with him, and I don't think Jameson Williams is quite back. I don't know if he's going to be trustworthy this season. So, wonderful call. I think another. Some people may be considering him a sleeper now is DJ Moore. Going up against that Detroit defense, they've been pretty giving during this holiday season. So I think and Sam Darnold, that he looks at him as his only target, and I think he's going to have to throw. And I think DJ Moore is definitely a possibility this week.
Oh, 100%. I'm thrilled that DJ Moore's a great play too. I think he ends up continuing this little streak that he had last week into making it a 2-week thing. So I do like that one there. All right, my friend. All right, on to our last one of the night here. Wide receiver bust of the week. All right, my friend, give us a wide receiver bust of the week.
Oh, and I hate to do this, but it's kind of staying with my Trevor Lawrence narrative. Zay Jones has just, it's number one, he's going to be facing off with one of the best secondaries in the NFL and the rain. It's just a combo this week. And after that 3 touchdown performance, I think people are going to get are going to want to chase that. And I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be tough for him to do it. So he's one of my fades for this week.
Oh, I love that one there a lot. I mean, especially since he plays on the outside, and that's where exactly the Jets will shut you down on an outside wide receiver this year. And they have not allowed much to outside wide receivers. That's why I still like Christian Kirk because he does play inside a little bit more. But yeah, Zay Jones is not someone I'm actively trying to put in fantasy lineups, even though after he had a major week last week in fantasy. So love that. Who was my sleeper? My bust. My bust was my original bust. I'm gonna go with my original bust this week because I have a weird feeling he's not gonna be good, and it's T. Higgins. T. Higgins, to me, you're gonna probably want to start him because you are, and it's just the way he's one of your top elite players on your fantasy team, probably more than likely. But since Jamar Chase has come back, T. Higgins has been kind of like a boom or bust over the last 3 weeks now. He didn't play that 1 week. We got hurt, but over the last 2 weeks, week before in Kansas City, he had 3 catches for 35 yards. That's not really great, but he had a touchdown, so it saved his fantasy day. Last week, he played Tampa, 5 for 33, but he caught a touchdown. So he's been kind of like a boomer bust wide receiver in a matchup where it's kind of tough because the New England Patriots are really good in the secondary. They don't allow too many people to like overscore on them, and they allow usually one wide receiver to kind of go off. And I think that's going to continue to be Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is actively seeing a high target volume in this offense here, where it's just basically almost 8 targets, 15, 13 targets since he's been back. He is dominating the targets in this offense here. And I don't know, unless T. Higgins scores, it could end up being another bad week for T. Higgins. You're going to probably start him, but just be wary of that he ends up putting up a dud fantasy week for you and not another elite fantasy week that we saw early on in the year, but recently it's not been great. I know the injury report says he's off it now, but he could be feeling good and be off the injury report and still end up not having a great week. So I'm going to stick to my bust. That's my bust this week is T.
I think T. Higgins is a great one. That. I don't think he's 100% healthy, and Chase is going to. He is any New England wide receivers this week.
Or your mic in that a little bit.
Oh,
I'm hearing on your end. You're coming in static now.
Oh, okay. The New England are gonna have time this week. In the for Fangle the bet well wow.
Hold on. Your mic is still coming in all kind of staticky and coming in and out. So, but Kyle says he said it's hard to trust him. But luckily for me, he's already eliminated, so you don't have to worry about that, Kyle. So that is a good thing. So I love that. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely gonna be tough to start T. Higgins, and you're gonna have to really trust yourselves overall on turning all your positions. We can give you guys great takes and whatnot, but at the end of the day, you got to trust what you believe in. Follow the numbers, follow your gut, and just put the right players in and just have fun with it. At this point, you made it this far. That's fantastic. Just 2 weeks to go. Just 2 more weeks. Just put the right players in your lineup, and that's really it. So we are going to wrap things up tonight, guys. This was a fantastic show, Jorge, man. You've been a fantastic guest. It was nice chatting with you and talking fantasy with you again. It's been a while, like I said. So if there's anything you want to go and mention, maybe you got something to plug in for you, the floor is yours, my friend.
These techs say to Johnny earlier. Strong.
All right, man, you're coming in like all over the place. I don't know if anyone else hears that. Kyle, I don't know if you could tell me if you hear that, but you're like coming in very robot-like. Kyle, can you hear Jorge at all? Is he coming in bad, or is it just my end? If you're in the chat still, Kyle, or anyone who's in the chat. Yeah, well, no one's gonna answer. Jorge, I'll let you try again. Let's see if it changes, maybe. But go for it.
Please. 7 I put that
yeah. Well, it's okay, Jorge. We've all had technical difficulties tonight, so we're just gonna wrap it up. La Familia podcast, Jorge, he runs it. It's fantastic. I love it. Please go check it out. Look at his Twitter tag here, Jorge Martin 17, and you can check out his work and his content that he puts out there. Fantastic work, fantastic, content creator here, and a good friend of ours of the show here. So we loved having him on. It was fantastic to have you on. I wish we could have figured out this technical difficulties we're having here now, but it's all good, my friend. And as always, guys, please go check out our website at www.thefantasycoaches.com. We got our rankings, articles, playbooks up there. A lot of cool things to check out for us. And as always, go check out us over on Twitter at Coaches Fantasy, and we'll help you out until your championship week to help you guys win championships, because that's what we're here to do, guys. Help you guys win championships. So we're going to wrap things up here, guys. We'll be back next Monday for the finals championship week. Until then, guys, enjoy your Christmas, enjoy your holidays, enjoy whatever holiday you guys like to celebrate. And we'll see you guys here on Monday to talk more fantasy. So until then, guys, have